You're a bitch.
and that should be pretty good. There we go. No, I'm
Don't do
just
that.
kidding.
Don't do that.
Uh,
How dare you? How dare you?
I know that'd be terrible. I should also ask you. I think I did ask you if I just got this PDF of this old Kickstarter thing of some Eastern mythology D&D platform. Uh, do you want that PDF
For the
just to
purpose
have
of
it?
what?
Just to have it and to look at it. Maybe get inspired a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like having things. I wouldn't be
Because I gave it
opposed.
to Austin. I'm like, Austin, you want this? Because you're doing a Naruto thing right now. Like you're trying to discover Naruto in life. And I'm like, okay, maybe this will help. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know, bro. I don't know you.
beautiful. I'll take
I know
it.
your cheeks.
Whoa.
Yep. Whoa. What'd you
There,
say?
there are a few things in life that I know better.
If I know anything, I know disguise self will not help Austin. I will
uh,
clearly see him.
Aunt Fanny brought you something.
You can't illusion that away. You're knocking shit off shelves, bro.
Oh gosh.
Oops.
Look, I'm proud that I
All right.
got the robots reference in the episode.
God damn it. Yeah.
What a
That fucking.
what a great film. Shout out Ewan McGregor.
Absolutely. That's a great film. Oh my god. All right. Do you know what you're going to do? You know what Isaiah wants to do?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
All right.
Isaiah wants to do things. Whenever you're ready to go, I'm ready. I
I
think.
hope so. I think I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, get her. Start ripping, man.
Tight, tight, tight. No.
I'm on a boat.
We last left off with Isaiah leaving the presence of Amun Ra, allowing him to complete the ritual he has to complete or to pick a new captain for his boat or the Ark of Ra itself. You, right now, Isaiah, are walking down a hall with Madame Laveau, this old, sylvan looking, hag like woman who has assisted you in defeating the three rabbit brethren from the last episode.
I soloed all of them.
You technically soloed all of them,
Okay, continue.
and there's no proof to suggest otherwise.
No evidence to the contrary.
Isaiah, you have walked away with a set of trophies. One said strange alloyed carrot blade and a large rabbit's foot that is still slightly bleeding, but should eventually
Well,
settle in
yeah,
the time to come.
we'll age out. We'll age out.
It'll age out, and in the spirit realm, it won't even rot. So,
Yeah,
material realm, another problem. Another
exactly.
problem. But Isaiah, as you walk down this hallway with Madame Laveau, you hear her like digging in one of her little satchels, and she starts crunching on something, and she looks back in your direction, and she realizes that you have been traveling down the same sector as she has, and she's like, "Oh, um, young man, not Amun Ra. Are you following me for a reason, or are you just traveling?"
It's just convenient. I'm just. I think I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play aloof. I'm gonna. Oh, who me?
You you play aloof, Isaiah. Give me a performance check.
Okay, okay. Let's see performance. Okay, it's not horrible. +3. I'll take that. All right. First roll, month break. Let's see what's up. A 4 for a 7.
4 for a 7. She kind of gives you a little bit of side eye, squints a bit, pulls out what seems to be almost a saltine cracker, and just chews it very loudly, and continues down the hallway. Uh, it is a dull green hallway, slowly going down level by level until she eventually comes across what seems to be a broken chasm of sorts that has made itself present in this large structure. It's about, from the distance of the hall to the other side, only about 8 feet in distance, but it definitely seems like it's a bit more than of a jump than she can make. But once she gets towards it, she takes out from her person what looks to be almost like a praying mantis. You see her cast a spell upon it, and it grows to about a medium-sized creature. She hops on its back, and it just hops and scuttles over across the chasm itself to the other side.
Does it appear to float or fly?
It flutters its wings for a split second in time. It did seem to gain a little bit of flight at that moment in time.
But it looks like
But
a praying mantis.
yeah, it looks like a very large praying mantis, which in real life would be the most horrifying thing in the world.
It's
But
nightmarish.
it's nightmarish. But to Isaiah, it's sure, that's fine.
It's
It's
nothing
fine.
compared to Frederick's sight. Just
You've
kidding.
yeah.
I'm not taking Tanga's character traits. I'm just kidding.
That fragile. Oh yeah. Uh,
Oh yeah, fragile. My
just
bad.
channel a little tang in yourself. Uh, yeah. It's nothing you couldn't handle. You feel like, but uh, you do see yourself in a moment in time where you'll have to make a jump.
Is Mowgli with me?
Mowgli is absolutely with you, but he looks to you almost as if placing pressure upon you to it's almost like a form of social pressure. Mowgli obviously is your subordinate in a way,
Yeah.
but he looks to you almost like a foot soldier looks to a leader, as if you are going to lead by example here.
Okay. Okay. Um. Okay. Mowgli, would you mind turning into something a little bit, smaller than your current stature right now? I think I have to get you across here.
Isaiah, Mowgli looks at you. His eyes widen. You see small semblances of tears forming in its corners. As you see Mowgli, he slowly starts to decrease in size, almost to a Care Bear shaped form. And he just kind of, every step he makes now, he just kind of,
Oh,
and hops over onto your back.
I I was I'll say I mean, I'm not mad at the choice, but I would be lying if I said that I wasn't expecting you to turn into a pelt. But this works. This works. Don't no worry, Mowgli. No worry.
You feel him socially quiver with disappointment for himself on your back as he didn't read the situation correctly and wanted to show off a new form to be cool.
Sure thing, Mowgli. I mean Ray. I mean Mowgli. um. Okay. Let me think here. Let me think here. Um. I have a question.
Yes. What is your question?
Does a boot count as a weapon? Does it count as a melee weapon?
It can, in the right hands, count as an improvised weapon.
If it's
I will
on
say,
my foot, still, is it an improvised weapon, or does it have to be in my hand being wielded as a club?
oh boy, oh boy. I would say if it's a heavier duty boot, I would absolutely allow it to be considered a melee weapon. What kind of armor are you wearing right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you, big guy. I'll tell you. Medium armor, breastplate.
I will say, even though it's denoted as a breastplate is definitely going to come with greaves, which would be, frontal leg armor, and gauntlets as well, or bracers of a sort, to make up for the lack thereof of further protection. I will say that this is associated with that example. So you will have some type of older greaves from this previous empire where you got this armor from.
Okay, this is where I get into my MacGyver bag. No one knew that Isaiah had a MacGyver bag, but I'm feeling creative. Okay, um, what I'm thinking is that there's a ledge here, right at the end of this hallway. That's the idea.
Hmm.
There's an open chasm.
Yep.
What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to burn two spell slots to cast. Oh, I can't. I'll just do one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Because it's concentration. Correct. I am going to. My left foot is my strong foot. It's my dominant leg. So I'm going to cast Thunderous Smite on my left boot.
Oh
And
boy.
I'm going to get a running head start throughout this hallway with Mowgli on my back, and as I hit the ledge, I'm gonna stomp my left foot as hard as I can into the ledge and count that as a strike against the ground to propel myself forward using the Thunderous Smite feature.
All right. I'm gonna say roll me an attack and then roll the damage afterwards.
Okay, all right. Is since it's the ground, do I get to roll with advantage?
I'm gonna say no since you've never pulled this off before.
Okay. All right, fine. Okay. Okay. So, would you consider would you consider me proficient with a boot?
Do you feel like in the past days of Isaiah training with the Medjai, he has kicked someone in the face during sparring?
He may have kicked someone in the face, but I don't know if he's like a savant at the old-fashioned curb stomp.
The old block stomp of Jabaxi is somewhat notable.
It's notorious.
Some Medjai, when they turn their body cams off,
Oh
they,
gosh. Now it's dark.
it's known to happen from time to time.
The body cam is just a glyph that's the Eye of Horus, and they just cover it.
It just fell off. I smited too hard, and someone was smote, and my body cam went with
Yeah,
it.
the memory card, it just maxed out. Oh man. Okay, so what not proficient. Proficient?
I'll say you're proficient.
Okay. Jesus Moses. That's a natural 2 for a 10.
Okay. A 10 is absolutely going to be the minimum amount you needed to hit. So I'm going to say it's really going to depend on the Thunderous Smite damage itself.
Okay. So 2d6. A 5 and a 6. That's 11 damage.
11 damage. Okay. Isaiah, I'm going to say that the initial idea is absolutely fantastic. It's going to be enough to get you across. However, I will say that you did cast Thunderous Smite, perform an attack at a genuinely, blatantly, uh, structurally destroyed section of this temple. So your damage is high, which is good and bad at the same exact time. So you are going to take your step, Boom! You cast yourself across with a great leap across this chasm. The ceiling is rather low inside of this hallway, so it's actually a very good thing that you did this, because getting across and jumping too high potentially could have led you to actually being struck by something else. So you get across and you shake the foundations of this place, and you absolutely start shaking the temple. You get across. I want you to give me a dex check to see if the ground on the other side, or maybe less so the ground on the other side, is giving out, whether or not you can stay up on it as it slowly starts to sink in.
Thank God Dex is my best stat.
Yeah, I know.
That is a natural 11 for a 10 again.
Okay. Uh, you you know what? Roll it with advantage, as Mowgli is going to fly and pull on your head
All right.
to pull you in the right direction.
Thank God that 11 was the higher of the two rolls. I rolled a 4 for a 3. Let it happen, Ray.
Isaiah, you did such a great plan. You push yourself across with thunderous magic. You get to the other side just for not your plan to fail, but the structure around you to fail. And you begin to fall into this chasm.
Um, I can't tell how deep this chasm is.
No, it is very, very dark. Whatever dark vision you have is not enough
I
to
would.
allow you to see. I will say,
I
however,
got
you
you.
still
I
have
got you.
Thunderous Smite
I got you. Don't even worry about this.
cast, and I'm going to say that Mowgli at this point, trying with all his might, sadly in Care Bear form, was not able to grab you. You slip from his grasp. You begin to fall. Isaiah, as you start falling, what do you do?
I'm gonna take my stinger of the web weaver out, and I'm gonna point it straight at the ground, and I'm gonna cast use its feature of guiding bolt all the way to the ground to get a gauge of what I can see as I'm falling
Oh,
down.
very cool. You cast your guiding bolt down there, Isaiah. It shoots straight down, illuminating the path before you, leaving its residual passive ability to allow you to see a number of broken pieces of structure, what seems to be other hallways that have come through, and you see what appears to be a makeshift bridge on the way down, about maybe 30 feet or so, that goes down about the, what is the guiding bolt, 90 feet?
Let's see. Guiding bolt range area 120 feet.
120 feet. So guiding bolt goes down 120 feet. It doesn't hit the bottom, but you absolutely clip what seems to be some type of makeshift bridge made by some individuals of this little temple here. And you fall a good 30 feet or so, unless you wish to do something beforehand. But I'm going to say that you have a split decision idea to make it.
I would like to. Yeah. Can I use? Can I make a charisma saving throw to see if I can riz, the universe to catch me? Um,
Uh,
no, I'm just kidding. Okay, okay. Just give me about 4 seconds. I can think of something here. I'm known to be quite crafty.
I
Um,
just love the thought of Amun Ra's perspective of just like, yeah, just give me a minute. Distantly, oh, distant screaming.
It's not funny, right? This is a very serious section of this mini campaign. It's
It's
all
always serious.
if Isaiah dies from falling damage because he thunderous smite out of a hallway face first down a chasm, he was not meant to be for any of this. Okay. 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 Uh, let's see what's in my. Oh. Okay. I am going to make either whatever you want to do. I'm going to make a athletics check or a strength saving throw to use my gauntlets of ogre power to basically like punch into the wall and see if I can catch myself.
I will say you absolutely can make an athletics check to see if you can cleave into the wall that you so unfortunately fell from.
Okay, okay, here we go. Has to be a nat 20 at this point. There's been so many rolls. It's statistically likely that I get a nat 20 right now. For fuck's sake, man. Because I'm punching the wall, does it technically count as a strike? Um,
I'm gonna say without leverage of the ground, no,
okay,
it's
okay, okay.
it's
So
not.
this is where you have to get crafty as a DM because I think I'm surely about to die. I rolled a 4 for an 8.
4 for an 8. Okay, yeah. You managed to take your web weaver, you flip around the khopesh to be almost like a hook or a sickle. You swing it as best you can into the wall, and it immediately deflects off. The thunderous smite damage seems to have been far too much, I would say, for the strike itself on that particular part of the ground. You begin to fall towards the makeshift bridge. I'm gonna give you. Actually, I'm just gonna roll. At this point, you would have fallen quite a bit of distance, so you absolutely will hit the bridge. I'll say this, Isaiah, do you want to hit the bridge or do you want to fall further?
Um, I'm going to make another athletics check to see if I can catch the bridge
Okay.
on the way down.
Okay.
Here we go. Has to be a nat 20 this time. Literally has to be. I rolled 2 4s this session so far. That is a natural 16 for a 20.
Okay. I will say with a dirty 20, you're going to take your web weaver. You are still absolutely going to take damage from this fall. You take the web weaver. You manage to hook yourself onto the bridge without colliding with it completely. You will only take about 7 points of bludgeoning damage. I halved the damage itself from it as you collide into the side of the bridge. And the slow glow of the guiding bolt that was left over begins to fade. And you are once again only with your only left alone with your dark vision itself as you hear Mowgli, Isaiah, what happened? And he begins to fly down.
I look up and um I look up and I just start thinking like I had a plan. The plan was going well, and then it started falling apart. Um, no comment, no further questions at this time, Mowgli. Please. Can I make a perception check about how this, where I'm at, like what it looks like?
I was about to ask you to do so. Go ahead.
I rolled a natural 14 for a 15.
15. Isaiah, you look around. This bridge seems to be some type of column that was placed here amongst this great chasm, and it looks almost as if the column itself was melted on both ends by some type of, well, acid almost. Looking down further into the chasm that you would have further fallen, you begin to see the tracings of almost some type of sparkling substance alongside the walls, and then further down it almost like flows into what seems to be like the empty space, not necessarily the ground, because you know the ground wasn't there, but the empty space further down. It almost begins to sparkle as Mowgli himself kind of gives off a little bit of a dim light. And with his new golden fur, he begins to shine a bit. Uh, Otherwise, to your left, Isaiah, which would have been the direction that Madame Laveau was going, about let's say about 30 feet or so above, you see what seems to be a little bit of overgrowth, which is odd for Jabaxi, but nothing's truly odd for Isaiah these days anymore. But it seems to be actually lush and green in that further direction. And then back in the direction you came from, it seems to be more towards the regular temple, losing a little bit of its green hue back to the more solid orange or so, maybe light brown top, some would say.
Interesting. Can we take a pause for a quick second?
No.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can.
Okay. So Madame Laveau is down here with me.
No, Madame Laveau is 30 feet up in the direction to the left above. You have lost track of her when you were making your jump and such. She managed to make enough distance from you to be gone from your presence, Isaiah.
She's not waiting up for me. She's kind of doing her own thing.
You had a feeling that she was not waiting out for you.
Okay, then, man, fuck that. I'm doing my own thing. Okay. Um, I'm gonna try to safely traverse to the bottom of this chasm.
Oh, you want to go?
Yep.
All right.
Tell me what checks I need to make, Big Papa.
I would say, Isaiah, you can give me an athletics check if you wish to begin climbing down.
Oh
That would be
goodness.
pretty tight. Or you can give me an arcana check.
Ooh, I'd like to do an Arcana check. That's fun. I'll do an Arcana check to start. So that's a natural 12 for 16 on Arcana.
16 is pretty good. I will say, Isaiah, with a 16, you feel something within yourself. You feel the tinge of residual Feywild magic from when you were imprisoned inside of the mountain of Romy's Hill almost respond to the presence of this temple itself. And not only that, as you begin to consider your descent into this cavern, this glittering mess before you, you feel your Kopesh of the Webweaver, Stinger of the Webweaver, the emblems of the gods that you have gained upon it begin to glow. And you see on the very top point
Would you
of the
say the
Kopesh
tip?
where it curves, the tip, we'll say,
Oh,
the
okay.
top tip,
Okay.
you see a tiny bit of
It's
web
not tiny. Oh, what?
begin to form.
You said
And it
lead?
begins, yeah, web.
Oh, web. Okay, I thought you
And
said
it
lead.
begins to descend almost as if guided into the direction of the chasm below.
I look up to fucking Build a Bear Mowgli here, and I say, considering my skills of getting going down versus across has proven to be, it seems to me that my skill set is much more suited to going down than across. So I think we're gonna proceed to go further down, and I'm gonna get us out of here, Mowgli. Don't even worry about it. Don't sweat it. I know you're nervous right now, but don't even. I got you. Don't even worry about it.
You see Mowgli look towards you. He looks you dead in the eyes, and he says, "Isaiah, nothing would stop me from believing in you." And his brow furrows as he turns into intense Mowgli.
Oh my gosh. With this resolve, I'm gonna give myself advantage on this athletics check. I'm
I
gonna
will say
say
Mowgli
Mowgli
will give
gave me
you.
bardic inspiration.
I'll say he'll give you advantage. Uh, I'll say that his brows also darken so that they accentuate upon his golden fur.
Well, I rolled a 1 and a 9. So that's a 13. It's a 13 on my athletics check to start going down.
Well, Isaiah, as you start going down, you get down far enough to the point where you're getting very close to this glittering mess. And as soon as you do so, you lose your grip for a split second in time and you fall. But you don't fall far. You fall backwards. As the stone gives out from your hands and your feet, Mowgli does his best to hold you up, but in his Care Bear form, he curses himself and realizes that he should have been in large form. You fall backwards into what seems to be glittering golden webs.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the webs are not strong enough for you to hold your weight, so you slowly begin falling further and further and further at a very slow rate, about 60 feet or so, until you are enveloped and safely snug and secure in what seems to be this strange glittering web mess. But you are in a precarious situation of being upside down and immobilized. You are essentially restrained at this moment in time.
Can I make another Arcana check to see if I can decipher who slash what could potentially have woven this web?
Make me an Arcana check.
Ooh, a 13 for a 17.
13 for a 17. You feel these webs. You are very close to them, obviously, with your entire person. You couldn't possibly be closer to them. They are not the strongest webs you have ever encountered before. They are also, at the same time, very far more than just regular webs. They seem to almost be made out of gold itself, almost like whatever spindled these things was not necessarily doing it for any reason that would serve a purpose. And you have the feeling with a 17 that, with your strange gut feeling of Fey magic making its presence known, that these are Fey in origin. Like, this is some type of almost maybe a fairy prank or just a social statement of some kind to make commonplace webs made out of gold.
Okay, here's the crucial question here because this is going to dictate the entire. This is going to dictate everything. Can I discern how fresh these webs are?
I will say with a 17, these webs are fairly old.
Okay. With that understanding, at this point in time, I'm going to look up to Mowgli and I'm going to say, Mowgli, I told you I would get us out of here, and I ended up in these webs. I'm going to need a second to think about how I'm going to get us out of here.
Mowgli is also not upside down, but thoroughly enraptured inside of these webs himself as well. Doesn't have a sharp object. He has a mace and is trying to saw away with his teeth and claws.
It's at this point with the restraint because apparently, I think I've been having it all wrong, Ray. But instead of Ray, I think about God, Horus, Osiris. I've been so focused on trying to get somewhere, trying to do something, trying to put an objective in front of my face so I had something to chase that I didn't really focus and take in where I'm at hand. And I think this is Horus's or Osiris's or Amun Ra's or maybe even Set's way of just saying, dude, you need to settle down. You need to chill out. You need to just like take a soft reset. And I think at this time, Isaiah would genuinely take a soft reset. And so at this time, I'm going to try to take a long rest.
You know what? I will say you're in a very comfortable position. And if you decide to take a long rest, you absolutely can. Uh, I'll say through an empathetic link, considering Mowgli is basically a summon and essentially your shadow in a way, he feels the same sense of peace. What does Isaiah think about during his long rest? What does he do?
He thinks about kind of what I just said. He needs to be a bit more present in the moment, a little bit more receptive of what everything is of everything that's going on. He wants to take better bearing. He only really has one thing that he truly wants to accomplish in his heart before he feels, kind of at peace with himself. But right now, that's a goal in the future. That is not what is present right here in the moment. And so at this time, I think he is reprieving himself of everything that just kind of weighs on him. He's going to say, hey, that is for future me to figure out and decide what to do. Right now, I am stuck in these webs with my Build a Bear friend, my companion, and let's just say that today has not gone as planned. So let's take stock and let's just, refresh ourselves come wake up time. So I think that's where he is. He's granting himself temporary relief, and I don't think that's not something that he has done for a bit yet. I think he's been feeling better as he's been accomplishing his goals, and those goals have granted him temporary relief. But he has never allowed himself, by his own merit, to feel like, hey man, just chill out, just relax, it's okay. Um, so that's kind of what he's feeling right now. That's what he's thinking about right now.
With that, I will say that the peace that Isaiah finds, almost as if closing his eyes, realizing that his situation itself that he's gotten himself into is futile to a degree. You relax, Isaiah. You find your rest. You awaken. And I would say, Isaiah, you find yourself rested very peacefully upon a stony ground. You open your eyes to what seems to be the chasm, the bottom of the chasm itself you have landed upon. You look up and there is a large shaped hole in this large, impossibly intricate web of gold and multi different colored webs up above. The bottom of this chasm is a very, very warm, almost dark blue in color, smooth stone. Isaiah, you don't see Mowgli anywhere at this moment in time, but you still feel his presence in this world. He's somewhere nearby. You don't know the exact direction, but looking around yourself, it seems like the webs have simply just let you go. Possibly. None of them seem to be torn, but almost an opening was created up above. I would say there's a number of strands that have made their way down to this ground floor itself for if you wish to strike them and take them with you, you may. But before you seems to be darkness everywhere, besides this smooth blue ground.
Can I identify the blue smooth stone? Attempt to.
I would say roll me a religion check.
A natural 16 for a 16.
16. Isaiah, blue and green in a lot of cultures, especially early on, were the same color because in nature there's not very many things that are blue in general that you would find outside of a body of water and the sky itself. You also know that green and blue are associated with a particular god in general, a god of death. And when you touch this ground itself, you feel as if there is a large amount of energy. And you feel as if you're close to the underworld itself. And by the underworld, I mean the domain of Osiris.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. And Mowgli nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen. He feels close by.
Is there a hint of tracks? Is there tracks of any sort? Of
I
any
would say
kind?
roll me uh a survival check.
Okay. Okay. Oh, Nike. That's a natural 3 for a 4.
I'm going to say it seems like there's no trace of. It's strange. There's no trace of like debris from the stone up above that seems natural, that seems to be down here. Everything's completely smooth and clean.
Um. Okay. Then, okay, so how many routes are there at the bottom of this chasm?
You see open space almost everywhere around you. It almost seems like this ravine itself uh, stopped well up above, and the web was almost there as a precaution to keep individuals from making down here, or possibly the opposite.
How. Ha, hmm. How soft? This is going to be a dumb question. But is the smooth stone soft to the touch?
You place your hand on it, Isaiah. It feels warm. It's hard to judge. You take your fingernails, you jab them in to see if you can scrape anything. You get nothing with that.
Okay, there's no
Do you
getting.
want to try the web weaver?
Hmm. What does the tip of the web weaver look like now? Tell me what the tip looks like.
The webs point off, I'll say from where Isaiah is facing, they point off around 10 o'clock.
Are those webs also gold or are those white?
These are, I'll say, white. They differentiate themselves. They do not sparkle in the same fashion.
If I were to push the webs away from the 10 o'clock direction, let's say to the 3 o'clock direction, do they revert back?
They revert back. You angle your Kopesh in a different direction, they follow the direction of 10 o'clock.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Um, what the fuck is up with 10 o'clock? It's not even noon. It's not high noon. Okay. Um, Is all directions, when you say all directions there's an open space, is that walkable or is it like
Oh,
aren't
it's
all
walkable. Yeah. No,
okay
it's walkable.
okay
The ceiling is very high right now.
okay. Then in that case I will proceed to walk in the direction of the webs.
All right, Isaiah. I would like you to give me a perception check alongside the walk.
Perception check alongside the walk. Ooh, I'm gonna take this to the bank. This is a perception, a natural 18 for a 19.
18 for a 19. That is very good. I'm going to roll a die.
I dare you.
Oh, I can't tell you what it is, but I did have a little noise. Isaiah, you walk forward for, I would say, about maybe a good 5 minutes or so. I'm assuming you're moving hesitantly.
I lost my Mowgli, so yeah, I would be taking precaution, as they say.
You walk hesitantly. The open area slowly starts to turn into what seems to be a hilly, almost ruined. I don't want to say shrine, but something greater than that. Almost a.
Altar,
I'll say, yeah, a large dedication, an altar. It's almost like
an effigy.
you, you come across a garden of what seems to be the old gods of Jabaxi. Some strange looking structures of the god Ra, the god Iset, uh, Osiris in a form you have never seen him in before he was drowned and cleaved by Set in the great murder of the, patriarch of the Jabaxi pantheon. You see what seems to be a number of different gods in almost a stele, which is like a large stone slab that depicts the Jabaxi gods at war with what seems to be labeled as Ajami, which is a word that you've heard old people call whatever isn't Jabaxi. So
It's like mummies.
whenever yeah, we don't say the M word anymore. We don't say the A word anymore. You would hear like, some Salians would sail to Jabaxi to make some trades. Trades would be made, and then they would be promptly set on their way. And and old people would be like, "Those Ajami weren't too bad."
See, whenever
And
I get the urge, I just write it down.
yep, Theo Von has written down Ajami multiple
Oh
times.
my gosh.
What? What?
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, you see a number of Ajami gods that have been depicted, particularly three brothers with spears, uh, fighting alongside what seems to be a number of other giant gods and such. There seems to be a monkey-like god with what seems to be a large quarterstaff that can grow in size. And no matter which gods the Jabaxi gods came across, they always win. It seems to be that there was one particular piece of this stele that was completely destroyed, almost like defaced, to almost omit a certain part of history, and you don't see anything past that in particular. Uh, you come across what seems to be a number of, I would say, probably funeral rites or offerings towards fallen individuals during this period of time. as it seems like the gods fought alongside with what would seem to be their mortal avatars. Uh,
Um, Sorry,
your
go ahead.
webs point in one particular direction, and that's over to what seems to be a mural for Neith. Neith is not depicted as being deceased or as motherly as she normally is these days. She seems to be depicted as more warlike
Yeah.
in particular, and the webs seem to be vying to get close to that.
Um. Okay. So, I got a couple of questions for you. Uh.
Too damn bad. No.
Okay. So you said that in these murals, these depictions of history of a time that is not current times. I see the Jabaxi gods fighting potentially other gods, and all the
Yep.
Jabaxi gods typically they trend towards having a higher KD than most, right?
It seems like yeah, they're Chads.
Yeah,
They almost always win.
they got the Moab. Okay, so question number one: uh, in any of these depictions, do I see reference, mention, or encounter with a god that goes by the name of Astaroth?
Roll me an investigation check.
Mm, got you on the fucking ropes, don't I now, buddy? Fuck. Okay. That's a natural 11 for a 15.
15. That, yeah, I'm gonna say Isaiah at some point in time after the three brothers and their giants that came to the world of Jabaxi to what seems to be start a fight, a war of some kind. They were promptly defeated. It seems like there is a telling of a scavenger god, or less so depicted as a god. Mind you, they get all wrapped up in just being a Jami, but this particular individual seems to be a red furred monster that eats the corpses of those around them and immediately grows in power and number.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Um, okay.
Uh, I will say with that, it also depicts the Jabaxis did not come into direct conflict with this individual, as insinuating that it got away from them.
Okay. Okay. Then, question number two, buddy, as I still have you on the ropes here. You know, you're on your last limb. In the Osiris section of this, visual effigy kind of encyclopedia, um, does there seem to be a relationship or history or occurrence where Osiris would meet a certain A word that goes by the name of Adlir?
I will say, I want you to give me, looking around this particular monument itself, you do find some recent, like, coming to depictions of history once Jabaxi came to Terra Grigia. I want you to give me another roll. It's going to be your choice between investigation or religion.
Oh, it's got to be investigation, unfortunately. My religion's so mid for such a religious man. Um, okay.
It's okay. It's supposed to be intelligence. It's weird.
I'm going to be. How about this? I'm going to persuade the wall to tell me its secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, also not bad. I'm going to take this one. That's a natural 14 for an 18.
18. There are depictions, a number of depictions of what is quite labeled as the Ajami god. His name isn't fully translated as Aedlir, it's just AED, Aid. And there are depictions of Osiris himself not particularly meeting him himself because he was not the god of the dead at the time, but Anubis.
Oh.
Anubis meets with him. They seem to have some type of dealings in particular with one another. And you see a number of followers for Anubis appear inside of what seems to be the underground, the underworld itself. You would know these people as the Knights of Anubis that go around, slay undead, pass judgment upon those who need to pass on and such. And you see Aedlir doesn't gain any followers. It's almost like Aedlir passes the torch and seems to go into his rest.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I'll allow it. Um, so in this room, because you pointed out that Neith has a section to her. Does every god get represented? I'm trying to like kind of visualize that this is kind of like the equivalent of um, Camp Half Blood from the Lightning Thief books. Deep cut. Whoa. Each house is represented and gets its own god. Like, is in this room, is there a section that's assigned to each god, or is it kind
Yes,
of a mishmash?
you are correct. Each god at the time, there's a number of them that are missing in particular. So there's not one for Horus yet. There's a number of depictions of Set, who would have been fairly young at this point in time. There would be one for Iset. There's one for Kepri. There is not one for Sobek. There is one for Thoth. There is one. Let me check my list again, real quick. There is one for Geb. There is one for Nut. There is one for. Ooh. I don't know how to say this name.
Why'd you say ooh after nut, bro? What's up with that?
Ooh. Ooh. Shouldn't have said that out loud. No. We'll just say that there's a number of gods. Emotep. Emotep.
Hmm. Uh. Okay. Then I'm going to go to Set's altar if he has one, and I'm going to assess it, investigate it to see what's all there, what it looks like, what he looks like. If this is Amun Ra era Set or if this is current era Set.
You look over. Set is depicted as a young jackal man with black and red uh, bracers, chest gear that doesn't cover up anything more than his upper chest and drapes down about towards his abdominals, and seems to have a very odd, like, happy demeanor the way he's depicted. And it says, Set, god of Amaji, or Ajami.
Hmm. Interesting. Um. Okay. And you said Horus does not have a statue here.
Horus does not have one yet. Uh, but you may roll investigation to look further into Sets if you wish.
I will. I'll do this. That's not bad as well. Okay, so that's 12 for a 16.
16. Isaiah, with every structure that is linked to the gods in offering, in degradation, or any type of religious practice, there is the power and awareness of that god. You feel like if you get too close to this particular idol, you absolutely will alert set to your presence. He will be able to have eyes upon you, whether or not that is relevant or matters in this situation is not known to you.
Okay.
But the closer you get, Isaiah, the closer and closer your vision begins to distort. It's almost like the magic emanating from this altar itself begins to shake your vision. Everything starts to turn red with a black aura emitting from Set's particular statue. And it
The
begins to crack. And for a split second in time, you worried that something might come out of it, and then you realize it was just your imagination.
Okay. Okay.
But the power is there. You felt murderous intent,
Okay. Um.
which is normally associated with Set.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the brand.
It is.
Um. Okay. In this room, does there seem to be a place where Horse's statue would be going if he were to have one?
You look around, it's almost like a. It seems random for the most part, with the exception of Neath being towards the center itself. Not the very center. It seems to be a place for offerings itself, for all of them in general. But you look around, there's a number of spaces amongst some outer circles that you feel like you could fit more offerings and more structures.
Can you give me the spaces? Like, give me a space and like the adjacent god statues that are next to it.
I'll say that there's. We'll go over to the closely associated gods with Horus, being Osiris, Eset. I would say that you have what seems to be actually really not particularly a lot of offering towards Osiris himself. Uh, he seemed to have been obviously usurped within the time that this was created. So there's a mural depicting his courtship with Eset. There is a number of opponents he struck down. There seems to be honorings of his avatars that he had during his lifetime. And I would say 5 feet or so to his right, there would be Eset. With far more offerings. There seems to be uh, depictions of the discovery of magic, arcane magic, within the realm of Jabaxi from eons ago. Uh, there's a number of wizards that have come all over the world to learn magic from the priests of Eset themselves. Uh, she has a number of offerings in particular, spell books, uh, staves, what seems to be ceremonial sickles used as casting tools, a number of diamonds that you feel like if you were to take would probably put you in the bad faith. Uh, towards more swords towards the center, there is a very large honoring shrine. I would say a good 10 feet away of Ra himself. There is the depiction of Amun Ra, uh, being the most recent avatar of Ra at the time, which you also know to be the last avatar of Ra and the last pharaoh of Jabaxi in particular.
Okay. Um. Okay.
To
Then
the right, I would say, is also Thoth, who is also considered a god of magic, but go on.
yes, yes. I have a question. Do I know if any god is represented by a rabbit, are typically, would I know that as general knowledge, or would I have to make a religion check, or what type of check would that be?
I would say that's general knowledge, and I want to say to your knowledge, you don't know of a rabbit god off the top of your head.
Not a rabbit god per se, but a god that at times has been represented in some text or another
Like
with a
an
rabbit.
Ajami, a foreign god of some kind?
I don't think Ajami gods are represented in this room, are they?
No, they're not. Just in particular, like the main stele of the depiction of old Jabaxi's history.
Okay, then I think this is what I'm gonna do. I think this is what I'm gonna do. First, I'm gonna make a check. Is there any signs that Mowgli is in this room? Is he hiding? Is he looking at me? Has he been through here?
You look around, you feel for Mowgli. He is further away from where you were, or further away from where you are now. You feel he hasn't been around. I'm gonna say, Isaiah, your perception check earlier was fruitful in finding this place, and far more uh, fruitful was the perception check that I made to find you. Because as you're looking around for Mowgli in particular, you find what seems to be the tracks of a very, very large serpent just tearing into the ground, bending this blue stone, leaving what seems to be an indentation trail with drops of acid, which what you can assume are from its fangs
Okay,
here in
interesting.
tow.
Um, then I will do a couple of things. First, I am going to I am going to oh, give me a second here. I want to write this down. Well, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. The very first thing is that I'm going to go to the statue for Osiris, and I'm going to take out the carrot blade, and I am going to set it upon the altar as an offering, and I will say a small prayer to Osiris, like, "Hey, blood, like, thanks for doing me that solid back there, where you like helped me keep me alive. I appreciate that shit. Um, you know, couldn't have done it without you." I'll set that there. The second thing that I'm gonna do is that I am going to go to an adjacent space, preferably next to Osiris or Eset if possible, and I'm going to take a basically a crude amount of dirt, basically a large lump of dirt, and with my water flask, I'm gonna make the jankiest porous man's kind of like mud, kind of clay compilation. I want to have this thing kind of harden into a somewhat formation, but basically, what I want to do is on a blank space adjacent to these statues, I want to make a pseudo clay fixture of the Eye of Horus, and I want to also say a prayer to Horus, saying something similar along the lines of like, "Thank you for giving me the second chance. Um, it hasn't been easy, but I'm gracious for the opportunity, no matter the trials and tribulations that have come with it. Um, I'm grateful for that." And as a offering, I am going to leave a certain letter that was found on one of the bunnies, which is the invitation to partake in a demigod tournament. And I will leave that at this little pseudo altar. And then finally, I will be going to Neath with the web weaver. And before I approach too closely, I will be giving an offering. And that offering will be the half silver, half gold coin that I got from the other one of the rabbits. And I will say a prayer to Neath saying, um, thank you for not only lending me this quite elegant and beautiful weapon. I appreciate that. You know, I could always use weapons. But thank you for hearing the call when I, you know, detected good and evil on a kind of doll effigy that was kind of dedicated towards you. Um, and thank you for showing my family, and I appreciate that. And with the stinger of the web weaver, I assume having the webs being kind of angled closer to uh, the Neath statue, I will be trying to approach closely to see if I can detect or feel a aura or pull of any sort similar to that I experienced when I got closer to said statue.
You will offer your carrot blade to Osiris. As you do so, if there was not one before, there is now a emblem of Osiris burnt upon the khopesh that you wielded yourself. The carrot blade seems to ignite with a flame and disappears in an ash, suggesting that your offering was known to you and or known to Osiris, and the shrine itself lights up. It begins to almost come to life, and you begin to feel the ground around you become more inviting, and there's almost a bit of growth that you feel trying to come through this hard blue stone.
Why do you keep talking about the tip? I'm just kidding. Continue.
And you move over to, which was the next one?
Horus.
Was it Horus?
The
You go to
non-Horus
Horus.
space where I create a space for Horus.
You create a shrine for Horus in this place, and you feel the link. The worship here, the link, the connection is not as strong as the others, as you are naturally attuned to it, the gods, far more than any other paladin before you. But you make your offering, and you bring Horus to a place where not only is his greatest enemy here, but the greatest loves of his family as well. You make him a statue. There is a burning upon the khopesh. The emblem is not complete, but there is the outline of Horus's rulership, I'll say. You see the eye of Horus with a black pyramid at the very center of the eye itself begin to form, but there is no particular magical glow. It seems almost like a weaker glyph in particular. You go to Neath. Did you go to Eset?
I did not go to ESET. I don't
Okay.
have a offering for ESET on me. At least that one that I could think of. But I felt like you know, an offering for Nithas kind of goes hand in hand with an offering for ESET.
That's fair. You go to Neath. You feel strong, dormant energy. As your offering towards Horus is accepted, more and more light is shed from this particular structure, and you feel the ground around you begin to shake and move. But I would say, Isaiah, roll me a charisma check to see how focused you can be upon this set of prayer and offerings.
I will do this. Charisma check. A natural 8 for an 11.
An 11.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's distant, so I'll say that you make the DC no problem. You go over to Neith's statue. You feel as though her presence is close. She's depicted wielding her khopesh in this particular statue and has a bow at her side within her other hand. She's depicted in some type of leather armor with bracers, looking regal and ready for battle, almost to defend her own people and her children, as she sees all the gods of Jabaxi as her children in particular. The closer and closer you get, Isaiah, the more and more you feel your connection to her. What was your offering to Neith?
My offering to Neith was the half silver, half gold coin.
You take your coin, you place it within the tray before her with a number of other particular offerings. It ignites, dissolves into ashes, and the lights begin to grow and cracks begin to form within the statue of Neith in the same color of the energy you saw her before. I'll say almost a purplish glowing color, and her eyes light up. You feel as though your khopesh is burning in your hands. You are unsure what to do at this moment in time, but you feel grass grow from beneath your feet. And you're bringing life back to this particular area. More and more the statues grow, and distantly you hear as the Care Bear of Mowgli in his prime form is running towards the shrine. Isaiah. Isaiah! We're not alone! And behind Mowgli, as the light from this large shrine that is about 80 feet in perimeter is showing off the webs above. The webs carry the light even further down, and you see further that Mowgli is being chased by an impossibly large serpent. He doesn't seem to be particularly chasing Mowgli for a lethal reason, but Mowgli is absolutely running, not flying, out of fear from this individual.
Mowgli knows how to think on the fly. Um,
He does. The serpent is blue in color. The crown above it is broad with a number of protrusions. It doesn't seem to be particularly ancient. It seems to be fat and almost gargantuan, but it seems to be drooling acid upon the ground as well.
Interesting. Okay. Then, in that case, I will. I will go to the entrance of this little room and I will I guess ready in action.
All right. You walk over towards the entryway, the closest area that you will get to for Mowgli, as Mowgli is making his distance from this large serpent that is encompassing an impossibly large amount of space. Isaiah, you see it's wrapped around a majority of the farther areas as the webs have been carrying light almost pulsing distantly. You can see that if this serpent were to have been collided with, he would have essentially provided a maze for you to walk through. And he begins to make his way in the direction of you guys. And Mowgli gets to you. Isaiah, we must slay the beast. Draws his mace, takes his large form, hulks out, and begins to growl as this serpent makes his way in your guys' direction. And as he gets to about 20 feet or so, just kind of stops and stares at you with glowing blue eyes.
Does it seem to speak? Does it seem intelligent? Does it look like it wants these hands? Answer all these questions in that order.
Roll me an insight check.
That's a natural 7 for a 12.
You look at him, you look in his eyes, there is intelligence in there. He is fearsome looking. He is very formidable. But he doesn't seem to be looking for a fight.
I will try to say. I will start with, do you mean us harm? And I will start saying that in primordial.
Ah, the correct language. The slits of his eyes blink for a moment in time, and he speaks out with a voice and says, I do not mean you harm. What a curious thing to come across in my lair. You don't seem to be pillaging the great shrines of Jabaxi.
No, I got lost searching for this teddy bear, and I look up at my large, muscular, growling companion.
He's
I don't
very
assume
mad.
that Mowgli understands primordial, so all of this is kind of going over
He
his head.
does not.
So
You were speaking in such a foreign language to him.
he's just shrugged at me like, "You just let me know when you're ready to swing, bro. You just let me know." What's he saying? What's he saying?
The serpent's speaking almost like Jormungandr. And you speak back at him in Whale from Nemo.
Yeah.
And
Can you? So I will. Oh, jeez. I was looking for my friend here when I stumbled upon this shrine. At which point I took opportunity to make offerings to those I saw fit to make offerings to. Are you the guardian of this shrine, or are you a servant to Apophis?
you'll see the serpent. He begins to get closer to you. He moves his head to the side so he can look at you straight on with one eye.
Does Mowgli
He
shit himself?
Yeah, you see Mowgli, he's standing beside you, mace in both hands. He's put his shield on his back. And Mowgli almost begins to swing, but he looks in your direction and he sees that you're not stealing yourself in a particular martial fashion, so he holds back and he's like, are we is it not go time?
I is there a language that me and Mowgli speak just exclusively that he knows?
Celestial.
Celestial.
you know Celestial is a shared language between you two. You don't know about the serpent.
Okay, I'm gonna try celestial, and I'm gonna say, um, we are neither friend nor enemy. We are simply just speaking right now, Mowgli.
Mowgli furrows his brow intensely and stops growling, but he grits his teeth and he just kind of nods and seems to rest himself for the time being. Mowgli looks back at the shrine that you have reignited at this point in time. The magic itself is pulsating faster and faster, and Mowgli's like, "What is that, Isaiah?"
I look at him and I say, that is a well done offering. If you have anything that you would like to offer to any god in particular, probably not Amun Ra. I know you guys have a troubled history, but if you have any god that you would like to make an offering to, I would suggest you do so now while I talk to the serpent.
I think I technically had an internship with him very quickly, and then I was promptly fired. But I'm gonna go look at those things. And Mowgli's gonna go over to the shrines, and I'm just gonna roll some checks for him real quick, just to see if he can learn anything. It's a 14 on the die. Okay, that's pretty good. Uh, the serpent watches Mowgli go, and he says, "Is that your right hand man? Is that your vice captain? Is he your familiar? I don't want to presume the origin of that, but I will give you the information of what you asked upon me. You asked upon me if I am a servant of Apophis. The answer to that is no. But I am an offspring of Apophis. You may call me Ion.
Mm, mm.
Am I
Well,
the guardian of this place? Loosely, I would agree with that title.
Ion, first of all, nice to meet you. Second of all, what precisely is this place?
You seek to ask of me more than I have asked of you.
I'm
I
sorry.
am Ion of Kethon, and I would like to know your title, my friend.
I am Isaiah of Jabaxi. For a small stint, I suppose, I was Isaiah of Salia. But right now, I am still working on the rest of my title. Some, I would say most, just call me Isaiah. This right here is Mowgli. Mowgli is. He is a storied friend that I've had many a journey with. And no, he is not my viceroy. He's not my secretary. He's not my captain. Um, he is. He is. He is many things, but I mostly just think of him as my closest friend.
The serpent looms and circles around past you to look and observe the shrine itself. Never in many millennia have I seen anyone come here and make as much difference as you, Isaiah. He looks and spies something of difference. I see a shrine of a new god. Mowgli is kind of like looking and kind of like ducking a little bit, and then he'll look back again and he'll see that the serpent is looking in his direction as Mowgli is near the shrine of Horus, and he uh, he looks to you, Isaiah, and he's like, "Why the fuck is he looking at me like that, Isaiah?"
What do I do? What do I do? um, I'll speak to Mowgli and Celestial. He means no harm. He is just observing the shrine, but he is also quite curious of you, as he has not met uh, someone as divinely unique and as special as you.
You see, if a serpent could take pride, he would, and he is at this moment in time. As he speaks in primordial, there is no one like me. We are all honored to be in each other's presence.
Um, I would walk up to the serpent as well as the shrine, and I think with my hands, because I'm kind of a half caster slash half baller, um, I would make a big glowing golden glyph of the Eye of Horus, and I would show this to Ion, and I would say, "This is the god of the shrine of which I created. Um, we, I refer to him as Horus. He is the god that I am sworn to, and I don't fully understand why he doesn't have a shrine here. But what I do fully understand is that he is in constant battle with that gentleman over there." And I would point to the back where the statue of Set is kind of looming, and continue on to say, "While it is not much, I think that the arguably busiest god of them all gets honored in some way in this seemingly sacred space."
He his eye widens a bit as you depict the symbol itself. You hear him speak a language you've never heard before. You catch the name Ra within it in particular, and then he almost phases out or just kind of zones out for a bit of time and looks back at you and he says, "I have heard of this god before, not in name, status, or occupation, but I have heard from a particular god that you claim to be associated with him, the first jackal god, Set. He came here before. He was courteous. He came here with a number of followers, seeking knowledge. He claimed that this god was a Jami, foreign, and was in the wrong place. I could not agree or disagree, as I do not get regular news. If you are willing to share current events,
Do you have access to Channel 5 News?
I would be most courteous of this and
um,
would be willing to reward you as Amun has not paid me a visit in a number of centuries.
Yes, Amun is very busy. He is. I've spoken to him, and he has a very 24/7 rigorous application process for who flies his sky boat. So that is kind of why you never see him at present time. And I look up at the imaginary sky that is not in this dark room, and
Yeah,
I just say, it's all jokes, Amun, but like, damn, like, visit your friendly snake friends every once in a while. Um, I would I would um I would tell him that, kind of like walking a bit closer to the Set statue. I'm like, uh, Set is right and he's wrong. While he is wrong um, about Horus being Ajimai, right? Is that the word? Ajimi?
Ajima.
Ajima? He
Yep.
is wrong that Horus is Ajima. He is right in his seeming desire to hold the Jabaxi gods accountable for the apparent slaughter that I'm currently seeing at present time, and I usher to the walls around the room. While I don't agree with his methods, nor the approach, nor the toll it's taken on the people of Terra Grigia, it has become clear to me that he is not just wrong, but he is more so misguided. He does sell, pardon my verbiage, Ion, he is a snake oil salesman, but I fundamentally do believe that what he hopes to accomplish in his twisted, devoid from the duat, any type of semblance of reality, I do believe he believes that what he is doing is right. But Horus does belong here and deserves equal representation to any and all of these gods, as he is the only one holding back Set from chaos.
You hear almost a distant shift far, far away as you see very quickly a part of Ion's body distantly whips, almost like the cracking of a whip, and he, with his momentum, stops just short of your particular uh, presence, and he stares you right in the eye, and he takes a very hard breath,
Oh, he didn't like that
and
snake
he
oil comment. He didn't fucking like that shit at all.
he he stops himself. He breathes something in. Isaiah, give me an Arcana check.
Arcana, okay. Ooh, okay, so that's a 15 for 19.
19. He breathes in an essence of what you spoke, you feel. You've heard of primordials in terms of elementals, other beings, Apophis and Ra in particular, Neith. They almost are beyond godhood or take steps into other paths and such. They have particular qualities about themselves. And as Ion almost dissects what you say, you see that he believes everything you say because you believe it to be true. And he gets close to you for that moment in time, and he almost slowly moves himself back, and he says, "Apologies. I was attacked, and I had to end the undead that did so. I am not lied to, Isaiah of Jabaxi and Salia. In my knowledge of this god, I know him to be a Jami, but if he rules over Jabaxi, he would have to be otherwise. The proof I was given by individuals suggests something of a conspiracy. The serpents of Terra Grigia speak to me, both in distaste, anger, and intrigue of my freedom and my father's freedom, as I can travel and they cannot. I tend to travel farther than the reaches of Jabaxi itself, but never making my presence known and never making interference a problem. I tend to moderate undead that escape the underworld, or those who tend to attempt to usurp Osiris or Anubis's claims, and in turn, I am given boons by these particular gods themselves. I can cast judgment upon the undead the same way Anubis can, within limitation. I smell undeath from you, but your actions have proven to be just, and I approve of the improvement you have made upon the old heart of Jabaxi. You wield a weapon that is depicted only wielded by Neith, correct?
That is correct.
These runes upon it are not depicted. What is that about?
What the fuck is going on? I cannot accurately map out for myself what they entirely mean. But if I were to speculate based on prior events, that whenever I do right by a particular god, the god in question blesses this blade with a glyph to represent them. Um, for what purpose, I do not know. I have not used any of these glyphs. They just appear, and I keep moving forward.
I do not imagine you wrest the web weaver's stinger from her presence itself and was gifted it. So whatever purpose you may serve in the eyes of the web weaver, it seems to be great. And long has Neith been inactive in the world. I wish to see and accompany you on your journey. And I have one final question for you before you ask anything of me. How did you come to be upon the precipice of the underworld, Isaiah?
Is Mowgli close by?
Yeah, Mowgli's not really like he's doing his thing. I gotta make another roll for him. Oh, 19 on the die, and I'll make the last roll because I should have been rolling a 3 on the die, but he got a 14, a 19, and a 3. Mowgli is gonna get his own knowledge from the shrines, and he'll have some insight for you if you wish to ask it, and some other information as well. But he's always been keeping at least one ear and one eye on you by the serpent, so he's aware.
Um, I would get closer to Ion and I would whisper in his ear and I would say, "So there are four distinct spots that I could start telling this story from. You let me know which one you prefer. The first spot is I fell through a hole with a skeleton that happened to be a demi-lich that literally talked itself to death." Okay.
Okay, so you want to divulge that information, and I'll let you talk about it if you want to, or you can just tell me what you tell him.
No, I'm giving Ion options right now. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So I say that I say I can start the story there. I can also start the story um, when I aborted, not aborted. Pardon my poor phrasing. Not accurate. Not what I was trying to say.
Ion
It.
O's.
Oh shit. Um, it's it all another play part in the story that I could start at is when I boarded the sun god's ship and took it upon myself to kill the captain. The third spot I could start at is when I was transported to a place where a lot of bunnies were, and some of them were very violent. And the last place that I could start the story is when I cast Thunderous Smite on my own boot. Now, you can choose where you would like the story to start from, and I will tell you from there.
You'll see Ion almost relax a little bit and like kind of roll a bit, and he will say, "Tell me about this skeleton." And his eyes squint a little bit.
Well, Ion, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but if you are going to be joining on my adventures for me, this will be something that I would like you to pay attention for because I actually lost the head for the Demi-Lich. So I will tell you the story, but keep in mind, like I'm actively looking for this in a passive way. Uh, and I will begin the soapbox about how I fell into the duat with Enelok and started to feel existential dread with one of the most annoying creatures that Terra Grigia could have produced. Um, Both in a Terragresian sense, a Fey sense, a Shadow Realm sense, a whatever you want to call it, in any sense. Um, and I will tell the whole story there. I think Mowgli is thoroughly entertained by the room, and when he's not thoroughly entertained by the room, he is thoroughly engaged with just staring at Ion because I don't think Mowgli has enough social skills to know to not stop staring.
He doesn't.
So he will keep going, but I will continue with this story.
Uh, Ion will ingest this story with 100% attention upon you. He finds the tale to be riveting. Uh, he will stop you and ask you what a lich actually is. Eventually, you'll find the Jabaxi equivalent word in primordial to that, and he'll understand what that is. Uh, at one point in time, he'll call bullshit on multiple portions of your story. about like, come on, bro, you did not just smite and then transport yourself into another part of the fucking structure. Get out of here. That shit does not happen. And then you'll depict it. You know what? Give me a performance check. Give me a performance check
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to
yeah,
like to see
yeah,
how like
yeah.
into it you are and such. And
Okay.
I'll say with advantage.
Okay. All right. 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 Oh, fuck both of these rolls. So, if you'll believe it, the largest roll is. This is why I need metal dice. I think metal dice statistically roll better than cheap plastic dice. Respectfully, not to shit on plastic dice, but regardless, I rolled a 7 for a 10. Um, so I think I did a adequate job of conveying kind of like the oohs and ahs of the story, but I'm kind of like fuzzy on all the details because I've been in the duat for so long that even though there are distinct key events that I can nail down, there's a lot of like blur of like, yeah, so for at least 30 pages of this book, it's literally just me walking through sand. And then we'll get to like a chapter of interesting stuff. And then I will spend another chapter and a half walking through more sand. And then that's what that happened, et cetera, et
Okay.
cetera, et cetera. So I think that's how it went.
Yeah, the idea of there being vast oceans is seemingly a foreign concept to Ion. Being underground for majority of their life, like they can't possibly imagine that amount of water. I feel like it'll come up that when the rabbits are talked about, Ion has reportedly eaten a number of corpses of rabbits that have fallen down. Uh, and somehow managed to find a way past the webs or something of the sort. There are a number of areas where there's this web that was created by which Ion will explain is originally it was created by Neith, and particularly since there is no Feywild in Jabaxi itself, it was almost overdeveloped by the Duat that a number of Archfey and other Fey individuals created this web to keep a barrier between the underworld where, judgment happens and the Duat itself. As, some spirits that are strong enough that don't like the judgment that's passed upon them will try to escape, or, some crazy adventurers will try to go into the underworld and, make plays, as you know. Or someone might find an ancient tomb that leaks its way into here. They find the shrines that are made for the gods of Jabaxi. They try to steal an offering, and well, that doesn't go over very well. And Ion will let you finish your story, and you see that very distantly another source of light is coming towards you, Isaiah.
Can I
But
identify the light?
you identify the light. It's a very sunny glow, almost reddish, and you would associate that with Ra in particular. But
Not set
it's
this
not
time.
here yet.
It is not set. You're not pump faking me right now.
You know what? Roll me an insight check.
Oh, all right. Can't believe I have to roll insight on God, bitch.
Yep.
Natural 18 for a 23. Get Shreked.
Yeah. More gold than red.
Okay.
It's very much so. You have a feeling that either Ra, Amun Ra, or someone associated with Amun Ra is displaying magic down here, searching for what you could assume is you. And Ion notes this and looks towards you, Isaiah, and just kind of, if a serpent could have a look of jealousy, it does. It it looks at you and it says, "You have had, in your short lifetime, quite adventurous moments in time. Will you allow me upon your journey with your blessing?"
Ion, I do not know who put you here why you were put here, or if you came here of your own volition. If you were put here by someone, it is not my place to say whether you can come with me or not. But if you were placed here of your own will, and you just guard this place because that is your will, then who am I to stop you when your will changes?
You see Ion rise up and rear up, almost touching the webs above, looks down upon you. A headdress appears upon Ion's head, and Ion's eyes glow even more blue and says, "No one commands Ion." And Ion begins to shrink, and Ion shrinks into the physical form very quickly of a lizard folk woman with a headdress.
Whoa. I was about. Oh, Ray, you're going to hate this, but you're going to love this. Do you want to know what I thought you were going to say as you were describing the
I
shrinking
absolutely do.
of Ion? Because you said Ion's eyes get bluer. Ion gets a headdress, but Ion starts to shrink and gets smaller. And I was starting to think, I'm like, okay, last time a creature started to shrink down, it was my best friend, my buddy, my pal, Mowgli turned into a teddy bear. Okay, what would Ion, the mega serpent, shrink down into that is cuddly? And I'm like, blue. And then I thought it. Do you know what I'm about to say right now?
What?
I thought you were about to say Ion turns into Long Dog.
Oh my god, that would have been so good. Edit it in. Edit it in.
Revision, revision, revision. That's what happened.
No, that would have been sick, but it'd be too far for me.
Yeah, I know. I know. It was funny in my head. That's why I had to tell it. Okay. Um, then in this form with Ion being a little bit more digestible to the eye, as all of
Oh,
their entity is, visible in one, it doesn't take up, several football fields. I will extend my hand to shake Ion's hand and say,
I will say,
"You're welcome aboard."
as you do that, Isaiah, you shake the hand of Ion. This magical blue mist uh, covers the area for the most part as Mowgli, rushes forward to attack, thinking that a great magic or a great blow was given. And you reach a hand out, a hand matches yours, and Ion is also, besides the headdress, completely nude and proud to be so.
Okay,
And you realize,
okay.
oh, okay, yeah,
I am not one to shame. Okay, because I was about to square up, and now we're friends, and so I'm just gonna let it fly. I'm gonna let it fly.
yep. Ion spits on the ground one last time, burns it a little bit. Grass and other foliage is growing from the shrine that you have reawakened. The old heart of old Jabaxi is back up and beating, and this place is becoming far more livable, if we're being perfectly honest, as
I
time comes.
I go up to Ion and I say, "There is only one thing that I will need from you before we embark on this journey, and that is this." And I will extend my now empty uh, water flask. Actually, no, I won't use my water flask. I will use my empty potion of flight, and I will take the flask and I will say, "If you would be so kind as to impart some of your venom into this flask, I would be so gracious."
You roll me a persuasion check.
Mm, a natural 17 for a 24.
Ion looks at the jar or the bottle itself, takes it from your hand, and fills it about 70% or so. Uh, she looks at you coyly, and then looks at Mowgli as if like she's taking the top spots.
Gosh.
And then looks back at you and starts walking towards the golden light. uh Rather boss bitch style.
How does Mowgli look right now?
Mowgli, I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture. There's no way to describe it. Mowgli is fury incarnate. Uh, I I will shit on anime for not having very particularly good characters in terms of like special design. Like a lot of anime characters look a lot alike. You just flop different hair on them. One Piece is absolutely guilty of that early on. Like it was just every female is the same besides um anyone that's not a skinny legend. And Baki is my motivation of this is that Baki does not have that issue. A lot of Baki characters look very different from one another, and that is what Mowgli looks like
No,
at
Baki
this
does
moment in
take
time.
creative liberties, I would say, with what the human body is.
Yeah, they do, and it's disturbing to look at times. But I sent it in the Discord.
Okay, I'm looking at the Discord. I'm not seeing it in the Discord. Oh wait, it's in the Creative Workshop. Okay,
Yeah, it's in the Creative Workshop.
okay, okay. Wow. Gosh. Wait, that's Mowgli right now?
That's Mowgli. Every bit of vascularity is seen. Mowgli stares at the bottle in your hands with fury. Every vein possible in his body is accentuated to maximum pressure.
I would I would go up to Mowgli, connecting the dots, and I would say, Mowgli, if I'm being honest, I was always too afraid of your masculinity and bravado to even ask you a question like this. But now that it's made apparent to me that you are willing to do anything to help the team, can I ask you to also fill up this flask with your venom? And I will hold out my water flask to him and let him do what he thinks is filling it with venom.
I'm gonna roll a d20 just to see like what he feels, what he does, without changing the vascularity on his body. He opens his mouth.
Gosh.
That is a 6. Mowgli fills it with golden spit and I'm gonna say some golden webs were also wrapped up in there, as they probably got in his system, his celestial system, for the
Oh,
time being.
God
He
bless.
does not say a word. He simply flattens himself into his veiny pelt form and remains.
Oh, he turned into a pelt?
Yeah, he turns into a pelt
Okay. I will
on the ground.
I will I won't even put him on my head. I'm gonna carry him like he's a wounded soldier. I'm gonna carry him in both my arms as I sheath the winged web weaver, and I'll just walk forward, and I'm just gonna console this vasculous pelt.
Yeah, it's almost unmanageable. It's almost impossible to roll up, but you managed to do so. And
It's like when you first get a
it's
mattress, it's like it unfolds out of the tube, and you have to wait an
yeah,
hour for it to flatten. It's like, God damn it!
yeah, it's if there was a heartbeat, there it would be insane right now.
Oh
There
boy.
is a blood pressure in this pelt that is impossible. And that golden light makes itself known to you as you see Amun Ra in a particular form of golden power, where his hair itself also turns gold, his eyes glow a subtle red, and he looks at you, Isaiah, and he says, Everywhere you go, Isaiah, you seem to change the world around you in amazing ways that I could never have predicted. You didn't really have to go that far, but wow. And he looks at the old heart of Jabaxi and he's like, I don't think anyone could have done that. And who the fuck is that? And he points at Naked Ion.
This is my new companion. Her name is Ion, and she is the what was once considered the royal protector of the heart of Jabaxi, but now she is one of the wanderers of Jabaxi.
He looks at you. He looks at Ion. He looks up at Ion, and she kind of like on her headdress. She has like locks that are tied up and braided together. She flicks them and spits on the ground for a second. He sees the sizzle. He verifies the identity, and he says, "I was not aware that Ion could take a form such as this, but I think I want to make adjustments to it if we're going to bring her on our journey." And he flicks a hand, and she's suddenly clothed in what seems to be common clothing of Jabaxi. You know, some type of toga. You see that she just kind of like adjusts it to be more proper. She makes a few tears here and there, and she says, "Amun, it's been maybe speaking of primordial, maybe I don't know, 400 years or so, maybe more since you have visited." And Amun just kind of looks and he says, "Yeah, well, I kind of have a daily job, and when I do said job, I end up in places that is not necessarily here all the time. I apologize for my lack of attendance, but you didn't have a real job, and you took it
Damn!
upon yourself to guard. you you took it upon yourself to give yourself one and ask for favors in turn, and I'm sure everyone was very grateful for that, and we will actually very much so need you as the Isaiah. The Ark is gone at this point in time. Chased Ra himself has chased Apophis back with a new captain, and we are going to have to find another means across the sands of Jabaxi. And I think that I am now looking at it. And he looks at Ion.
um, before I even, ugh, before I even continue, okay, there's a very important matter that I need to resolve. Um, I go up to Amun Ra. Do I know if Ion or Mowgli speak Jabaxi?
Ion very much so, suggesting the old language you heard is probably a language of Jabaxi that is beyond you,
An older
far,
dialect?
far long time ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So modern day Jabaxi, probably not.
Okay. What about
Mowgli,
Mowgli?
yes, yes.
Mm, okay. Okay. Then I think I'm going to, in Primordial, whisper to Amun. And this is where I'm really going to kick things up a notch. I don't think you were going to see this coming, but I think I have to do this because this is literally what my character is designed for. I'm going to bonus action channel divinity, emissary of peace, and I'm gonna whisper in Amun's ear in primordial to kind of plead my case that he should really be giving some positive affirmation and attention to Mowgli right now.
Okay.
He, for the sake of the group's well-being and the success of our group, it's imperative that he does not just acknowledge Ion, but he gives Mowgli some sort of special treatment that does not involve a job or his sudden magnificent burning.
He
Got
he yeah.
I got a 25 on my persuasion check.
I'm gonna say with a 25. Uh, Amun Ra has decent insight. He's got a +8 to insight. I'm gonna roll to see if he can get a full grasp of the situation. He stares at the veiny hide in your hands. That is a 16 on the die. That is going to be plenty for him to read the room of Mowgli was an only child, and the family just got someone new, someone very different from anyone else before, and he's clearly shaken in his position, and clearly the group is fracturing and is nearing a betrayal,
Gotcha.
if possible. And Amun will simply speak up, and he'll say, "Mowgli, if you'd be so kind, I would like you to lead the way on the trail of light that I have left behind. Without Ra in my presence, I have very limited power, and I will need a guide moving forward. In particular, as when Ra is beating back his brother into the night to bring the dawn back, we're gonna need all the help we can get, and I'm going to need a general moving forward." He looks to you a little bit for
For assistance.
for assistance, and with a 25, I'm going to say that Amun Ra, he's going to he's going to roll a persuasion check. Do you want to give him advantage, or do you want to roll your own, Isaiah?
Um, I will roll my own, and whichever one's higher, we can just take. Um, as Amun is speaking, I think I'm going to take the you know veiny pelt and I'm going to stand it up on its feet because I'm sure it's very, it's kind of like a cardboard cutout where it's like it will fall over, but if you keep it up, it'll stay up. So I'm balancing this pelt kind of like straight up on the ground, and I'm patting it on the back softly and soothingly as Amun Ra's giving him the gas, and I'm saying, Mowgli, you are the fiercest warrior that I'd ever encountered in Salia. When you weren't looking, I had even caught Tangoth quiver whenever he looked over at your sight, for he feared that you were by far the more dominant and powerful furry friend out of the group. And guess what? That is true. That is true. And on my persuasion, I rolled a 24.
Okay, Amun Ra rolled an 18 on the die, which is a lot for both of you. You see the cardboard cutout begins to gain shape And Mowgli takes a form not quite in his full blown Hulk mode, but more of a medium size. He's about your height, maybe a tiny bit taller, Isaiah. His neck is very thick, and he almost takes the visage of what you would see is the depiction of Egyptian gods in the regular sense of like a humanoid body with the head of an animal. And Mowgli takes that form for the first time. And Mowgli relaxes his blood pressure, and he says, I mean, I did look over at the shrines and I got a lot of cool information. I wanted to share it, but I thought that the spotlight wasn't on me anymore, and it wasn't my time to speak. But I feel like in the future I'm gonna make a presentation for you guys. On our journey when we have time, and I learned a lot of cool stuff about Thoth, and maybe some information that's necessary. I don't know, but I will lead the way.
Um, I think you should lead the way in a different direction, though, Mowgli. I feel like, with all due respect, Amun,
Oh, I don't even remember honestly which direction I came from. This shrine lights the webs, and yeah, I couldn't possibly know at this point in time. I'm so turned around and shocked by these events.
I think actually where we need to go is only a place where uh, Ion can point the direction, but Mowgli can lead because Mowgli, he is the bravest of us all. But with Ion's knowledge, I think we should move to our nearest destination, which is, and I'll tap my foot on the ground with my non Thunder Smite boot, to the underworld.
Uh, Amun Ra looks at you, raises an eyebrow. You wish to traverse the underworld to make your way to Pharaohs.
Well, Amun, you missed it earlier, but I had an epiphany, which is the more you go down, the more you go up. And no, does not make sense. But if you think about it long enough, it still doesn't make sense.
Roll me an intelligence saving throw, and Amun Ra is going to do the same thing. This is not his speciality.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh my god.
I rolled a natural 9 for a 12.
Okay. Isaiah, you don't take any psychic damage from what you just said. But you see Amun Ra, his nose begins to bleed a little bit. And he is trying to grasp the knowledge you have given to him in this moment in time. And you have found the limits of what the last pharaoh of Jabaxi can do.
Amun, there's
You
something that
pushed him.
there's
Oh.
something that I don't know if I properly conveyed to you when I told you the story about Isaiah the Wanderer, Isaiah the Redeemer. This was back when I was Isaiah the Failure. But when I died, I was about to enter the underworld. But I was not in the actual underworld itself. I was with Horus and Osiris inside the Black Pyramid within Pharos. And so, if Ion were to gain us passage to the underworld to see Osiris, Osiris can gain us passage to the overworld to the Black Pyramid.
You see Amun considers the options. He pulls out a small, like, almost a rock. It's the same blue stone you see disappearing before you from the overgrowth. And he looks at you almost worried. You are not the first to suggest this, Isaiah. And I don't know if Ion is one particular individual who can get us there as safely as I believe. But if we do transverse the underworld, I have a fear for you in particular. And that fear is that your judgment may come again. Not from Osiris himself, but possibly from Anubis, and possibly from any of his followers. That is the only warning I wish to give to you.
I will consider the warning that you give. And while I have been mindful in the recent day or so to be less destination focused and more what is in my present focused, I think that ultimately the journey to Pharos has taken far too many detours than I think than I can necessarily afford. If I were to redeem myself in the eyes of those who dwell in the underworld, then that gives me all the more faith that I can do the same thing to my own people. And to me, that's who I hurt the most. Is not necessarily the gods, but my people, and more specifically, my family.
Ion looks towards you. She nods in approval. I have transversed the underworld many times. I can make the journey. But never with passengers or allies. I will have to deviate certain routes, as your constitution is different from mine, and you may not survive that particular journey. But surely with an avatar of Amun Ra himself and the wielder of that Kopesh walking in the tidings of the gods themselves, our journey is sure to succeed.
And you're not acknowledging the ace up our sleeve, Ion, that the underworld does not anticipate. And I look over at him and I say, we have the best goddamn general to guide us through the underworld. And I look at Mowgli with so much goddamn belief and like honestly, this is pure fraternal energy that I am trying to channel into Mowgli's spirit. I'm trying to take the dog within me and put it in Mowgli. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to amp him up, and I say that emphatically.
Uh, yeah. You see, as soon as you say that, Amun Ra casts a spell. Mowgli's visage begins to glow. He's immediately upgraded and given the armor of a Jabaxi general of old. So he has a flowing cape. Thaumaturgy's obviously cast to make it flow,
Yeah.
and Mowgli's looking more regal than you've ever seen him before. Uh, Obviously, his regular brutish form is more imposing, but at this point in time, with the form he has taken now, he looks like your guy.
Yeah.
He looks like him.
He is him.
He's him.
God bless.
He he believes you. He believes everything that you guys have said. Ion looks at you quizzically, but taking the idea from you to look at him with awe, she will attempt to do so.
God bless. God
And Mowgli starts marching.
bless. Wait, Mowgli. We don't know what direction we're going.
And we'll cut it off there.
Oh man, what a good episode! What a
Yep,
great. It was like it was Oppenheimer. All talking, but it was great talking.
that's fine.
It
Yeah,
was great
yeah.
talking. Man, so let's talk about what we didn't plan. Okay, I don't know what it was. What if it was Blades in the Dark, or if it was, you know, for whatever reason, I felt like the creative bug in me, and so any single thing that was like tossed my way, I'm like, what's like out of the box? So if out of the right out the gate, thunderous smite on the boot to make the distance.
Yeah.
Did you think? Was the session planned that I was supposed to cross?
Yeah, it was planned, and eventually, if you had, I was giving you the social pressure of like Mowgli was looking, like Mowgli could have floated you over there, with some difficulty, but he could have gotten you over there. But Mowgli was looking to you, thinking, how is Isaiah going to get me over there?
And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I know Mowgli can do it, but this, like you said, with the social pressure, I'm like, I bet he's kind of thinking like, at some point, dog, you have to be him for me. You have to be him for me right now. So that was my idea of being him for Mowgli, is just
Good.
like giving myself the big boom and getting across. And what was supposed to happen if I crossed, or you can't tell me.
You would have made it across. You would have come across essentially the remainder of like the exiles from Terra Grigia that have been, hiding here from the Feywild, and you would have met a bunch of Sylvan individuals. One in particular, I would have basically like, and I was considering this. This is why I text you. I'm like, I gotta shake things up from like an earlier roll that Isaiah had rolled early in the journey. That it made a decision, and I'm like, potentially after this like episode, if Isaiah, rolls wrong socially, because when it comes to the Feywild, like your social pressures and your reputation, I was gonna introduce whole new mechanics of like gossip and stuff like that, and how intense your own reputation was as the redeemer amongst these people. And I was going to essentially like depict him like, oh man, if Isaiah like makes himself known by this one particular person who may not enjoy his presence and possibly makes an enemy, the next session after this could very well be the ending, because that if things went wrong basically, and like I'm willing to say that it ends here, like quite literally.
Damn, damn.
But you didn't go that way. You ended up doing the thunderous smite thing, and I'm like, okay, it was a cool idea, but I'm like, I didn't think of it immediately. I'm like, well, he is casting thunderous smite at a literal fracture point. And I'm like, oh shit. I mean, yeah, yeah, he's gonna make it across, but will it stay up? Probably not. And it didn't.
Yeah, I'm giving myself so many brownie points for creativity this episode, but a lot of execution was just kind of like it fell on its face. But okay, so you didn't expect me to. Okay, so when I got to the makeshift bridge, when I caught myself, Did you think I was gonna climb back up?
Yeah, I did. I thought you were gonna at least go alongside one of these pathways with the bridge, but I knew if I introduced like some type of sparkling, literally like a cat, I'm like, oh, he's gonna go for this, and I can't regrettably not do it. I can't. I can't just not do that.
In my head, if Lady, what's her name?
Laveau.
If Lady Laveau was up there and she was looking down at me and she was like, hurry up, Isaiah, I was very much gonna go back. But as soon as you said she's not waiting up for you, I was thinking, fuck it, we ball. We already fell this much.
Yeah,
Um, so
why
that's
not, man?
that's that's why I did that. And then yeah, I once we got into the room, the heart of Jabaxi, I I typically like on a meta level, I kind of read into like, oh, this is where Ray likes to get his shit off. I'm like, if I
Ugh.
play this right, I'm gonna get this man to lore dump out the wazoo. And so that's why I kept saying, I got you on the ropes. I'm asking you these questions. I'm rolling
Oh, I
adequately.
was I was pleased. I was
Yeah.
pleased. I was
Yep.
like, all right, here we go. All right, here we go.
Yep. So I
Let's
did
go.
that,
Let's
and then
go.
I'm like, okay, what else is creative around here? And I have posted notes. I haven't done formal note taking of this mini campaign series. I don't know why, but I just haven't. So I have sticky notes of like certain notes that I want to take, and I had notes from the carrot episode of everything I looted, and I'm like, there's functionally no reason for me to have these. Like the carrot blade is cool, but it's literally just for, it's just it's a cool prop, but I don't. Isaiah himself does not need it when he has Stinger of the Webweaver. And
No.
then I have the invitation to partake in a demigod tournament. I'm like, that's not necessarily in the scope of what this mini campaign is, and it was also a past tense event, so it's not really anything that he needs. So okay, I'm gonna give that to Horace, and then I had the half silver, half golden coin. And when I think about um, color association, you had described the webs on the way down to the chasm as gold, and the webs coming out of the tip of the Kopesh as a white or potentially silvery if they catch the light. So I'm like, okay, that's going to be going to Neath. And so that's where a lot of those ideas were. The intent was to always make a. Once I got into the room, I'm like, okay, let's make offerings to these gods because that's what makes sense. I have items that I am cool to part ways with, but I'm also can make this like a cool moment for me that I think would be awesome. So that's why I did that, and I thought that was really neat that Horace did not have his own statue. And I'm like, you know, he gets pissed at me sometimes. I know we have a troubled relationship slash dynamic, but I think this will give me a couple of brownie points with Horace as well if I partially rebuild the statue in this sanctum. Um,
It's money in the bank. It's money in the bank
yeah,
for
it
sure.
literally cannot hurt you if you do this. Like it's like it can only I mean, it can technically be ignored. The worst it does is it's a lateral move, but in average case scenarios, your rapport with him goes up a little bit. Um, so that's why I did that. I really did expect to fight the serpent. I really did think that was going to happen. I didn't think that that was going to be like that. I let's see here. What else did I think was not going to happen or going to happen? Um, I didn't think Amun Ra was going to show up down below. I didn't necessarily expect that to happen, and I didn't expect Ion to change into a person. I thought that I was just going to have a large serpent companion. Actually, right when you introduced it, I'm like, oh, okay, this will be our steed. I'm like, fuck
Uh,
it, we ball.
yeah. I'll say you get the feeling that Ion will take the form again when Steedhood
When
is
it's
needed.
necessary, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, exactly. But let's see. I knew I wanted to get venom from the snake. I didn't know how I was gonna do that, but I just asked once we were cool. Um,
Yeah.
I like Ion. Ion is she's she's what is she? She's like she's got like a serious but yet somewhat kind of cheesy flair to her. I mean, I feel like you put a sprinkle of cheese in a lot of your characters, regardless of
You
how
have to.
serious they
Oh
are.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So no, she's an interesting flavor of like companion. She's definitely different from Mowgli, but I like how she plays into the formula, I guess, um, of the whole group. And then and then we get to the choice of the underworld, wanting to go to the underworld. That was something that I think I had thought of right when you said I was on Bluestone, and I asked you if it felt like if the rock was soft or not, because I was thinking like, could I just go there? Can I just go pop over there? So that was something that was sitting in the back of my mind, but I didn't know if it was imperative or something that I really wanted to do. But once Ion became a friendly and Ion in the conversation directly called out like what brings you to the precipice of the underworld, I'm like, oh, Ion knows some shit about the underworld.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
what
yeah.
it kind of cemented it to me, and that was partially, not the entire reason, but also partially why I did Channel Divinity Emissary of Peace, because that persuasion buff lasts for 10 minutes. So I'm like, okay, this will help me with Mowgli right now, but if I need to persuade Amun Ra to go to the underworld, I have a bonus to my persuasion checks right now to potentially manifest that to happen. So I was like, this is a 2 for 1. It gets me some good bonding with Mowgli, and it also helps facilitate my ability to um, go through the underworld. Uh, so that's kind of why I did that. But that's the thought process behind all of my decisions. From your point of view, what decisions were you most taken aback by, or you did not anticipate, or just other favorite moments?
I I did not particularly expect you to just relax within the webs. I thought you would have eventually called for help or, saw if anyone could have helped you in general. But once you relax and you decided to center yourself, I'm like, well, these were made by Neath in mind with the Archfey in particular, and they don't pose a lethal threat to anyone. They essentially just try to keep people from climbing out, like from below. Like that's the idea is that they're there for that particular reason. But I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is supposed to keep the undead, that potentially escape there. What if an undead had come back? Would this have relaxed? And particularly since you had, your niece number one right now, your niece only one.
Yeah,
You're the only thing Neith has going on right now. And while she can't actively, help you, maybe she can passively help you. So I'm like, I think these webs would eventually just give you passage. Like on 2 points, you being a particular undead and your niece champion currently.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I totally forgot to bring that up in the highlight. Yeah, I don't. That was a result, an amalgamation of very quick, subsequent trip and falling on my face. Like, I rolled bad for the Thunderous Smite. I rolled bad for the grab, the checks.
Yeah.
I biffed it all the way down basically until I got into the webs. I failed that whole process. That was like it was probably like 10 minutes of game time, but it was like, 2 or 3 rounds of, what had happened in game. So 20 seconds or so of just like you just got your entire ass whooped and you're at the bottom of this
Yeah.
chasm in entire webs right now. And that's when I was like, I burnt almost all my spell slots. I'm still low health from when I fought Clyde. I think the combination of like the mechanical benefits and the fact of what happened from a roleplay standpoint, I'm like, Uh, let's just have Isaiah take an entire chill pill and mellow out. But
Yeah,
continue. Yes.
it was the right move to do for sure, I would say. You I didn't expect, the whole relaxation, but I'm like, hell, man, if he's gonna fucking, go all the way down to the bottom, he's gonna find, you know, this precipice to the underworld, and it'll be cool. And I rolled a nat one for Ion's original perception check to notice you, which I was like, all right, fuck, yeah, that's gonna happen. Um, if Ion had found you in the dark, it probably would have been far more uh terrifying.
Potentially confrontational.
Yeah, potentially confrontational, and that would have been, you know, you wouldn't have had access to the shrine itself because I don't think there's a situation in time where Ion is gonna bring you to the old heart of Jabaxi. Like
Without knowing to.
suggesting
Yeah.
without knowing to, yeah, like that's the particular place that Ion does not want people to go to. So I think that doing that was probably good. Mowgli went off to explore and learn things on his own, which he will share with you once you guys are on your journey.
Yep.
And I'll give you the whole dossier of what he learned from the shrines and the murals and such later. Well, next session. But I
Yeah.
will say that I spent a lot of the time in between our last two sessions designing a little bit of this place, not expecting us to spend much more time into it. Like, I have some things here and there, but it's mostly abandoned. It's for exiles. They're hiding and they're laying low. So I didn't feel the need to really, really put so much detail into it that's necessary because you would want less detail for a hideout, essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, so I spent a lot of the time building up Pharos, seeing how this is going to go. Uh, Pharos in comparison to being on the side of the Duat, because that is the heart of Horus's territory, obviously. Like that's it, man.
Yeah.
Like that's where it's at. Uh, and then I had a number of towns surrounding Pharos designed here and there, gate systems, checkpoints that they particularly have in Pharos because, security is rather important and not everybody can be trusted in Jabaxi, even though they have such a prominent relationship with gods. It's just that some of those gods are not particularly good people.
Not cash
And
money, as they say.
no, no, they are not. And you know what? Sometimes those particular people who do worship said gods, even if they are good gods, they do so for the wrong reasons and will probably perform certain things that are bad. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
let's see. What else? Did you. Here's a question. How much of the underworld do you have prepared, and did you expect that move?
I did not expect you to go decide. You know what? We're going to hell. Fuck you. No, I
Yeah.
thought you were just going to take Ion. And I'm like, well, he's gonna meet Ion now, so that's fine. I was gonna have potential meeting of Ion up above amongst the sands anyways, but this was like, the main area you could have done so. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a situation where you're not gonna run into this gigantic thing at any point in time, but going into the underworld, I have some of it designed in mind, uh, not all of it by any means.
Yeah.
But you're going to be transversing, not the exact way that Ion would go with, a primordial hull of the serpent that she is. So you guys are going to have to take a way that doesn't involve spitting acid upon the ground and bathing in it
Yeah.
because you guys are not immune to that, especially a primordial serpent's acid. Uh, you guys will have to transverse a little bit. You'll have some potential encounters here and there, and some social engagements as well. And then the travel won't be that long. you're going to the center of the, you know, Earth potentially in of Jabaxi, so you know you'll be able to travel and then go up from there. Where you will end up, I will not share that with you,
Yeah, that's classified.
but I'll have a few options in mind.
Yeah, um let's see. Yeah, I think another reason why I pushed for the underworld thing, and I can't tell you when it happened. It may have happened around the conversation for when I was talking to Ion and I realized that this wasn't just a fight, but this was a conversation with a very powerful entity. And just for clarification, is Ion based in mythology or is this your character?
This is my character. I don't know if there are any particular offspring of Apophis or Apep,
Okay.
but I just went with the idea of like, oh, well, this is going to be literally a child of Apophis that she doesn't really care about his grudge with Ra. She just kind of, I mean, that's not her deal.
Yeah.
She's gonna do her own thing, and she's just incredibly large, out of the loop because she can't have a relationship with the outside world in particular without people freaking out and losing their minds.
Yeah. Yep.
So Amun Ra was kind of the main way, or like even some of the Sylvan individuals that end up down there on accident will probably flee on sight if they see Ion
Yeah.
by magical means.
So my first um, conversation, not conversation, when the conversation with Ion was happening and it wasn't aggressive or confrontational or necessarily one that was threatening, it really dawned on me that I'm living out my roleplay fantasy that I didn't know I always wanted, and that fantasy was I want to be Percy Jackson. And in that moment, I'm like, I am motherfucking Percy Jackson. I'm just a dude that is tripping and falling successfully into the presence of powerful gods and deities and monsters and is somehow not completely entirely snuffed. And in that moment, I'm like, oh, if I'm living my Percy Jackson dream right now, I am milking my Percy Jackson dream right now. And what did Percy Jackson do in the motherfucking ninth book? You guessed it. He took his girlfriend, the girl that he wants to wife up, and he went through Tartarus with her. And I was like, I'm getting my buddies, and we're going through the Jabaxi underworld together. Fuck it, we ball. Let's do it. And that's what happened in my brain. I'm like, I'm just that's Patrick's mo is he wants to play out his Percy Jackson fantasy, but with Isaiah, who is 100% way more coming off of a long stint of sociopathic tendencies, general lack
Mm.
of apathy, and more or less aimlessness and purposelessness in his life beyond his oath. Um, so it's a lot of different flavors, a lot of different characters that I like, but I like that ultimately we are having fun with mythology and monsters in this sort of way, um, where it does feel like an adventure. So yeah, this was a great episode. I had really fun. This was a good comeback. Don't call it a comeback, um, but no, this was good. This was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, I. That's also part of my and you've picked up on this by now. I think you know, but part of my meta objectives when playing these one shots with you because it's just you and me. You know that you are curating an experience for just one individual, and I am playing this experience with one game master slash rule maker curator. And that objective is I want to just I don't want to break it, but I want to fuck with you a little bit. And I like to just be like, well, what happens if I go over here?
You want to
And I get pissed every time you're ready for it, but I'm
you
also
want
like
you want a
stoked.
little peek behind the screen right now?
Yeah,
You want to know something
yeah.
that obviously Isaiah can always assume that Set is quite literally looking for him. He's trying to like. Have you ever seen the hit movie Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf?
Oh God bless. Yes, I have.
He's trying to kill you, literally, quite literally kill you at any moment in time. Like he's gonna pull every string he can to get a hold of you and end your life in particular. And I need you to know that when you took a long rest in the webs, I'm like, oh, this is a good time for his boys to eventually show up. They're gonna roll up and possibly see what's going on here. And I'm like, he's gonna be close. I have like private rolls that I do here just to see what happens. And now you're going into the underworld. I need you to understand how fucked that is for Set to track you down. There's literally nothing he can do. He has like this isn't an argument of territory. He cannot go into Osiris's domain. And you're essentially going to be popping up in Horus's territory, which fucks him. It fucks him so
Yeah,
bad right now.
that was not intentional. I actually didn't think about set that much. I did consider the potential risk of taking a rest in the webs, but with the way that I was suspended, I'm like, I think the riskiest thing, the most likely thing to happen, is that I fall and I take falling damage from the webs not
Yeah.
carrying me anymore. But I think it was a low likelihood that either something above me sees me and then comes down, and I guess there is a decent chance that something below me notices me and tries to come up. But even then, I'm like, I think I can afford that risk. Or I was just being purely naive, and Ion could have just like noticed me and then gobbled me up, and then and a mini campaign. We had a good run.
Yep.
Uh, that was some risk that I thought about. I did think like if I did get close to that set statue, I was gonna get fucked. I'm like, all right, I'm definitely not doing that. Like, instant turn off. I'm like, don't need this smoke right now. I'm just gonna do my own journey, and we can kick that can down the road later. I
You
did
you have been grabbed through time and space by him one time enough to know not to walk up to a shrine of his.
exactly. So I did learn that, but what I did and something that I did not call out in the thought process or decision making kind of part of this post mortem is I did not I didn't anticipate it beforehand when I was spieling to Ion, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I. This is going to be like the most generous way of putting it because I still have full intentions of holding him accountable. But I like that Isaiah, in some way, gave Set a bit of grace through a very obfuscated kind of twisted interpretation of Set's experiences are and his relationship with the Jabaxi god versus the other gods throughout Terra Grigia that have been seemingly kind of just been mollywopped by the goats that are the Jabaxi gods. And I didn't think that I was going to be put in a position, not put in a position, I would find myself in a position where that was that 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 Isaiah wanted to make that clear for Ion. Like on paper, it would seem very easy to tell Ion, "Nah, fuck that guy. He's a bitch. Fuck that dude. Like he is, kill him." But considering Ion's relationship to all of the statues in there, and Horus's past experience that was not fighting Horus, but was more of an affiliate with Amun Raw, and in addition to the scenes that were being depicted on the walls, I'm like, I can understand, and understand is a stretch already, but I can understand how with all these factors and all these components, and you twist, you squint your eyes, you look upside down, and it's through a looking glass, how Set may be thinking what he's doing is the right thing. And I'm glad that I was allowed to find myself in a position where I could verbalize that and convey that, if not just to Ion, potentially Mowgli as well. Um, that I liked and did not anticipate until basically the very moment that it kind of happened.
That's fair. Like, he absolutely does, with all his heart, believe that he's doing the right thing. And he doesn't care how many people he's got to walk through to get it because, at this point in time, mortals are fuel for the gods. And they will either worship Set out of fear of, you know, a lot of murderers in Jabaxi end up, praying to him not to get caught and then get wrapped up in his schemes and such. Or a lot of his worshippers, which are the majority of them, are like, well, I think I can use this relationship with him. I can worship him and I can not get got by him and I can just take his power and use it for myself because they always think they can outsmart him, which he's willing to give them a win just to lull them into his grasp, basically.
Yeah,
And yeah, you don't need as many casual worshippers as you do very fervent guys who are willing to throw their lives away for you.
yeah, yeah. Really good session overall.
We're back, baby.
We're
We're back.
we're fucking back, baby. Um, like we never left. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to potentially discuss, cover, or call out before we wrap this up?
I wanna call out the level of hype and how good the Castlevania Nocturne trailer is.
God,
Uh,
yes.
I watch it actually on a regular basis because I'm like, man, with this guy talking about Richter Belmont, saying he feels the pain in his soul and he prays for him, and I'm like, man, the voice acting is just so good. Like everything's just a step up from the previous animation it looks like and voice acting. I'm like, damn,
I I
this is it's got to be good, man. It's got to be
it's
great.
got to be good. And actually, when I was playing Blades in the Dark, I was wearing my Castlevania shirt. And when I
Oh,
was talking to Nate's buddy John about potential campaigns that he may want to participate or GM for, I was thinking about Castlevania, but I didn't want to call it out because it's on my shirt. So I was just like, we can't be overly ambitious. I can't do what I did at Cabin Weekend, where I suggested every possible universe ever to have a campaign in. So I kept that one in the tuck, but no, I actively think about Castlevania and how magically great that first show is, and how promising the second show is, and how it's a damn shame how we don't have any games to come out in conjunction with these shows.
painful, painful.
It's not fair. There's not
God
even a
damn it.
remaster of the PS3 games, which seems like not even the most difficult of asks considering we're getting Metal Gear Solid remastered. Um, but you can only ask Konami of so much before they threaten to send the Yakuza after Kojima. Um,
Yeah, yeah, they will.
so the
I know
gig
he's
is the
got a
gig.
fortress.
Yeah.
Hide in your
Oh
fortress.
my gosh! And the front door, the bouncer to the club is motherfucking Jeff Keighley,
Yeah.
defending him with his life. But
God.
yeah, um, yeah, great episode. Excited to see what you're gonna have to cook up for the next one. I'm glad that I I threw you through a couple of loops. You didn't completely expect everything that was gonna happen, so I'm glad that it was new territory for you. But yeah, that'll be. I'm gonna look forward to that. But in the meantime, think I'm gonna call the recording here. And all right, guys, I will. I don't know why I'm talking to the audience. They're not here. It doesn't matter. It's all. It's over.
N-word, 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 N-word.
Jeez, jeez. Oh
Get it
gosh.
out, get it out, get it out.
No, Theovan. Now, now, write it down. Write it down.